Well, good morning everybody. Welcome to another webinar. Please just give me a yes if you can hear me, and you should be looking at the Forex Factory calendar on your screen as well. Anthony, Arsan, Mikkel, good morning. It is Tuesday the 13th of August. We are almost halfway through August already. I do not believe it. Do not know where the time has gone. Weeks are just flying by. Stuart, good morning. Yes, excellent. So this is YouTube live, and what that means is there's typically a 10 to 15 second delay. So if you do have any questions when you pop them in the chat, please give me a few seconds to answer them. And if you have any trade setups that you're currently looking at and you wish to discuss them, put them in the chat and we'll also go over those. I don't have too much on the radar other than what's already been published within the chat and the signal service. But the purpose of this room is to review the opportunities that meet the rules outlined in the educational material at freeforexeducation.co.uk. And I'm hoping for a decent week. I did tell you on Friday, yesterday that on Friday there was 3 winners. There was one on Monday as well that I published. Wasn't involved in them, but I can see now a change in the market. So I'm hoping today and throughout the week we're going to start seeing some winners rolling. First of all though, let's have a look at what news is out for today. So Tuesday, we are now 9:30. Just one second, we had pound news out, didn't we? Okay, making my pound New Zealand trade rally the wrong way. But today we have at 9:30 the pound average earnings. That's out now, and we're seeing on the pound New Zealand anyway a bullish move there, and I'm currently in a short position. We've got euro out at 10, minor news and economic sentiment. Then we've got some dollar news out at 1:30, some CPI. So not expecting a great deal of movement, to be honest with you. So there's nothing here that's going to stop me taking any trades unless you're taking a dollar trade on the 5 minute. I would stay out for 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after on that dollar news. Apart from that, going into Wednesday morning, is there anything we should be aware of? Well, there is a little bit of Aussie dollar news out, and we do tend to see the market move as a result of that, but nothing major. So nothing too much here on the news front that would stop us from day trading. So let's move that out of the way. And we will start off with... We may as well start off at the very start with the Aussie dollar CAD. Now, not much has changed since we last did this review, which was just last night. So we're still looking at our head and shoulders, and I'm going to delete this information off just so that we can see it a little clearer. In fact, I'll do the higher time frame analysis. So for those of you that were not in the webinar or didn't see it last night, we're still looking at this head and shoulders. I'm still looking at the market coming down to retest, I think it was on the 240, this lower structure level. So as we go down to the 60, we had a lovely head and shoulders that set up here, a move higher, a pull back, a move higher, a pull back, a move higher, and then we violated to the downside. We saw a pullback. I was looking at getting involved. I was hoping for a deeper retracement. We never got it. Instead, we've now entered trend. Trend is defined as a 3-point move after violating the outside return. So 1, we violated the outside return. 2, a pullback. 3, a move lower. And now we're seeing a retracement. So as well as the head and shoulders, and my prediction is that we're going to come and retest this lower price reversal zone down here. We're now also in trend, so we're still looking for that lower low, lower close. Just take a peek at the RSI. There's no RSI confirmation here to say that we're going overbought. We're simply just going to have to wait to see if it gives us that lower low, lower close. Obviously the higher up price pushes here, the better the reward to risk is going to be. Can also look for a last chance entry just within the wicks here, guys. Let's go and take a look at the 15. Did anybody get filled the Euro Aussie signal, by the way? I came close. I came close but didn't get filled the big head and shoulders. Don't know if anybody got filled that. Here on the 15, we can look for some other form of entry. I don't think we have a back pattern here, do we? No, we fell short of that 50%. There's no cipher. We did talk about potential AB equals CD pattern. Well, we've rallied straight past that. We're not even overbought on the 15 here, so this is going to be a few more hours. But if we do get the lower close, or even we get a 15-minute reversal pattern within the last chance entry up here, I will be shorting the market, guys, and I will be playing for a retest of the lows down here. So pretty much just a recap there on the Aussie dollar CAD. Any questions on that one? I've only got a few people in the room this morning. That's how I like it. Just a few people. That means if you have any questions, anything about structure, trade setups, now's the time to put it in the chat. Aussie dollar is the next one. I think this is going to be quite a quick webinar because the majority of everything we went over last night. And not too much has happened. We did talk about a potential down here where we could look for a potential rotation, and you could see a pop to the upside. You can see we've still got the workings out. We'll go ahead and do the higher time frame analysis here. Structure level in at the close of the candles. What you should easily be able to see is this long wicked candle followed by a big higher high, higher close. And we had the RSI that went massively oversold as well. So we could see here a pop to the upside as a minimum coming into the wicks here. And if we look left, we actually held this major level of structure. So I am still expecting a pop to the upside. Stuart says, I'll message you later on the platform regarding flags. Okie dokie. Let's go and take a look at the 240. And here on the 240, we did violate to the downside, but I was saying that if you were looking for a move higher, then you could simply look within the wicks here. And what we did, we've come down into that structure level, and you can see we've held it. Just let me reset this chart. I can't see my RSI. We have not gone oversold. There's no head and shoulders here for me, but if we drop down to the 15, did it give anything like a double bottom? No. No, we violated structure here. So nothing here for me, even though my bias here is that we could see a long opportunity. Do we have a potential flag here, guys? Swing in the market, directional move on the closes of the candles. Right here we did not come down to test the closes of the candles, giving us an indication that we could be entering a we could be wedging or coiling. 1, 2, 3. We've just come up for the fourth test now. Is the structure? Well, this is the key level for me right here. So if you're looking short, what we then have is this potential flag pattern. Now this is the fourth test, so we're going to have to see a structure hold here, and you're going to have to see a red candle. Now what I would be waiting for is for this outside return here to be tested, and the way price is moving, it looks as though we may spike up. We may close above this structure level. Now if we just spike up and hold that level and then put in a red candle, we would have tested our outside return and we would have held structure. Do we hit a minimum of a 382? I'm sure we do. Yes, we do. So potential flag there. The question is your bias going to be short or still long? I'm going to put a structure level in just at the lows here. Now we have violated below these levels of structure. We have technically held this internal level. So it's a decision point in this as to whether or not you would simply play for a retest of the lows or maybe that 127. First of all, need to see if it's going to be a flag and if we hold that structure level. So yeah, potential flag there, guys, on the Aussie dollar. We'll see whether or not that hourly candle holds. Let's go and take a look at the 15. This may be valid on the 15 as well. Yeah, it's also valid on the 15. Chances are we're going to violate on the 15 though. So this is probably going to be on the 60. Okay, so we'll relook at this at 10 o'clock and we'll see whether or not we do hold structure. If we don't, then I think that we're going to see a pop to the upside. Let's move that out the way. And we will take a look at the Euro Aussie, guys. Did anybody get filled this? I doubt that anybody did. I had my order at, where did I have it? That's not right. I had my order just below the 61.8 fib. I think I came maybe 7 pips from getting filled. The big head and shoulders. We'll do the review on this anyway. We never know, we may get another opportunity. So structure level in here at the close of the candles, and very much like the Aussie dollar. Let me do that again. Structure level in. Very much like the Aussie dollar, we saw a great big spike, a structure hold and a lower low, lower close, and then we pulled right back up. We pulled into the 6600 psychological number. If we go to the 240, then we were looking at this potential head and shoulders. Now here on the 240 though, we did violate above our structure level, but we did have additional confirmation in terms of an initial structure low just here, and that simply means that this was the outside return and we physically closed below it, giving us an indication we could see a rotation. What we also did was say that we wanted to be a little bit more cautious with our entry, and we could look for a double top up here. And if we just go ahead and highlight the wicks, first of all on the 240 we had a lower low, lower close. Now if we got this at 10 o'clock at night, last night when I was talking about this I would have entered, but when I woke up this morning we were trading down here and it was over my 100 pips max risk, so I couldn't take the trade. Just one second guys, my YouTube seems to have gone a bit fuzzy. Let me just refresh it. You guys still hear me okay? Just give me a yes if you do. And yeah, so I missed my entry on this because it happened in the night. But if we go down to the 60, what I was then looking at was we did have then a confirmed double top. Now I couldn't take this last night because the RSI was not overbought, even though we had divergence. So things were kind of lining up, but they're just the lower low, lower close on the 240 happened at night when I was asleep, and the double top was not, it didn't have the RSI confirmation, so I couldn't enter that either. So, and as you can see now, we are breaking to the downside. There is still the chance that this will pull back for a 2618, but it may not. It may not, so this may be one that got away from us. However guys, if we enter trend, just because we missed our optimum entry doesn't mean that we have missed the trade. We can look for that AB equals CD pattern that we spoke about, so there are literally 300 pips still up for grabs here, something like that, and we'll see. We'll simply just monitor this and see if we get some sort of directional movement, some sort of entry. We'll take a look at the 15. Now here on the 15, what you want to be a little bit cautious of is this. So we had a move lower, a pullback, and now we've had a confirmed new low. Okay, so you could, if you're aggressive, look for a shorting opportunity. The problem you have is this just may pull all the way back for 2618, or it may not, and this may be then a valid entry. Stops just above the highs here, so it depends how aggressive you are. We throw that fib back on. Yeah, the 61.8 is all the way up here. So that's a potential. You could also drop down an additional time frame to the 5 and look for a more conservative entry within this outside return. Vinco, yeah, exactly, Vinco. You can look for the trend continuation. With us being so close to the double top, the 26.18 could still come off. So that would be my concern. So, but yeah, you could certainly look for the trend continuation on the 15. I'm just waiting for the 5 minute to load now. Okay, on the 5. Conservative entry would be a rotation pattern. I can't really see an area where you're going to get one. Rotation patterns occur within the wicks. You could get one here, you could get a last chance entry. You may not get a rotation pattern. Let's just work out what the reward to risk would be on this trade. Let's say we've got our entry here, stops went an ATR above the high. Wow, the ATR is 16 on the 15. Okay, there's no psychological numbers to hide our stops behind. 16 pips would make us 96. Okay, so you couldn't take first targets at a retest of the lows because you'd have an inverse reward to risk. I would be cautious and I would take my first targets here. Now, the downside to missing your optimum entry is that your stop would have been above the main structure level. So what that would have meant is if price was, say, trading down here, we had news out and it spiked all the way up here, well, your stop is still in the safest place. But if you have it here, if you get involved, you know, halfway through the trade, then you have a higher probability of it being stopped out. So when I don't get my optimum entry, I much prefer to take initial targets at the next structure level so that I can then roll to break even just here, so that if that weird spike happens or we do see a reversal in trend, at least I've banked half my money and I've got the second half at break even. So that is the downside when we don't get our optimum entry. So yeah, we could look for that lower low, lower close. Still quite a large amount of risk, 40 pips, for quite an aggressive trend continuation. I think this would be. So we'll monitor this. It would be nice to see the RSI confirmation and something like a 5 minute double top or something like that. So we're going to wait. We will wait on the Euro Aussie. I would have much to have been I would have preferred to have been filled the head and shoulders, but we will wait. Euro yen, guys, is no. We'll run over the Euro yen. We're in this trade, aren't we? We're coming close to targets now. Let's go ahead and take a look at the dailies. So Euro yen, you can clearly see we're bearish here. Move lower, pull back, move lower, pull back. And what I was noticing is lower low, lower low, lower close, and we're just moving lower. So when I see this sort of movement, my thought is that we're going to come down to retest the lows and we're going to violate to the downside. Also, there is room for price to come down to this level or even this level. And as we look at the 240, then what we had here is we had a directional move lower, a pullback, and then right here we physically closed below this level just here. So we could then look for shorting opportunities. Now the question is where, because technically the outside return is this entire level. So why did we get involved down here? And for that we do need to drop to the lower time frames. And here on the 60, if we read what the trend did, we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, then a pullback, a move lower, and then a pullback. So this level right here was technically the outside return. So I am then allowed to drop down one additional time frame to the 15 and look for the entry. and here on the 15 we actually had a lower close right here, but the outside return here on the 15 was technically this level. So see this here, guys, this candle physically closed lower than this one, and that made this the outside return. And again, this was the lower close right here, and you can see we actually retested up here, we broke to the downside, and we're now seeing a bit of a retracement here. So hoping that we're going to come down and get targets. First targets are a retest of around this level. Second targets, I don't really have enough data loaded, but I think they're down at this structure level down here, about 270 pips lower. So we'll hold and see if we can get at least first targets. Second targets would be a bonus, because that would be quite a nice trading opportunity, that. But yep, first targets, we'll hold, see if we can get the euro yen, bank some money. How long have we got left? 8 minutes until the close of the candle. Just bring back over the Aussie dollar. You can see we had the spike up. Unfortunately, we did not test the outside return. So it would be nice now to see some sideways movement, a nice high test candle, then a structure hold, and then the lower close. So that would be a nice opportunity. Let's move that back out the way. What else do we have, guys? Euro New Zealand, we'll take a look at that. Doesn't look as though much has happened actually, so no, let's leave that one. There's nothing going on there. We will look at the euro dollar though, guys. Does anybody have anything on this currency pair? You can still see that we're within this consolidation area. I have absolutely no idea which way we're going to break out. This for me is now a confirmed inverse triangle. So what that means is, instead of the triangle being flat at the top and us seeing that type of movement, and we're coiling this way, which is the way that it should be, and we should break to the upside, we're actually seeing it the other way. So it's called an inverse triangle, and it simply means that we're holding the bottom and we are coiling at the top. So I don't have a rule for this pattern. It can break out either way in my opinion. Let me have a look. The problem here is, if you're reading the trend, we had the move lower, the pullback, the move lower, so we violated to the upside, but then we have the triangle which is inverse and could break either way. Let's go and look at the 60. So I'd really just look at this as consolidation. Entire area just consolidation. Check out the 15. Looks like you may have had a double top here on the 15. Nope. Check out the 5. I'd only be looking for things like flag patterns here, breakout patterns within this consolidation area. Nope. No, nothing here either, guys. No low and tight flags, no breakout patterns. Hassan says, for me it's short. Yeah, I think we could break to the downside. If we go back and look at the dailies, we have all these wicks, don't we? All these wicks to the upside. If you highlight the wicks just here, you can actually see we held this structure level on the dailies. Yeah, we could break to the downside here. Certainly, if you look at the trend, a new low, a pullback, a new low, a pullback. Just unfortunately, it just isn't providing anything that would tell me that we're going to break to the downside. But if it's for you, you've had a lower low, couple of lower low, lower close candles here. You could use that as the entry and then look at playing for a retest of the lows. But as I say, I just don't have a rule for this, so it's not something I can trade. We'll see. We'll monitor it over the next few days and see whether or not it does break to the downside. Let's move that one out the way and take a look at the pound Aussie. Another trade that stopped me out for break even and went on to hit targets. Did anybody take this trade yesterday? Directional move. We had a flag pattern. I did post this in as a trade signal 1, 2, 3, 4. It moved within seconds. We saw a big rally. Targets were the 127. However, my rules are that when we come down to retest structure lows, I have to move to break even. And my break even was here at 78.91s. Right here, 78.91s. And so you can see I was taken out. And then shortly after, price turned and rallied and hit targets for a beautiful 40 pip winner, without me, of course. Without me. Don't know if anybody held that trade. Jack says yep, same result. Jack, it's been pretty tough for me. 7 trades, a total of 550 pips that have stopped me out between 1 and 3 pips, and then went on to hit targets. That's why I made the decision last week to stay out of any pound pairs, because that's where all my profit has gone. We see a trade like this. But here's the thing, you'll go through periods of this happening. And my rule is I have to move to break even when we test structure lows. I'm a structure based trader, so structure is key to me, and this saves me more money over time than simply just holding the trade. So we'll delete that info off and let's take a bigger look at this. I think I was looking, or I did insinuate that we could see a bit of a short here on the pound Aussie. So we had the move lower, the pullback, the move lower, the pullback, the move lower, and then when we pulled back, we technically held this entire area. So there's no violation here. So we have held that area. So we could see a pop to the upside, we could see a burst to the downside. I'm actually expecting a break to the downside. I think that we could see a move lower. And that's because of this high level up here, this high watermark. Since then we've just been making lower lows, we've hit consolidation, and I do think that we're going to come down to retest this level. But I've got no confirmation of that, so if we go look at the 240, on the 240 we did have this breakout to the upside, and we very quickly broke to the downside. A directional move here, and we're just moving now bearishly. Let's take a look at the 60. Okay, on the 60, directional move. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're actually holding the structure level right now. Has it come into a structure level where I think that this could be a flag pattern? Okay, let's just read the trend. Move lower, outside, return, move lower, outside, return, move lower, triple bottom. And then what we did is we broke to the upside. Did we break above the outside return and have an actual break above, close above? Yes, we did right here. So there is a potential trend rotation here, guys. What structure is there here though that would tell me that we're going to hold this level and see a move to the upside? There isn't any. There is no structure here to say that this is going to be the turning point. Let's take a quick look at it though on the 15. See if it's given us a retest or a double bottom. Look at that, it has as well. There's the retest, guys. No RSI confirmation though. We didn't go oversold even though we do have divergence. So if this is valid for you, stop's just going ATR below this level, which is 16. You can make that red. You could either play for a retest of the highs here, or simply just play for that 127. So that's going to give you 38 pips of risk for a reward of 145. The question is this a valid flag pattern? Okay, let's go and have another look. Let's take another look at this. I don't actually like the way it's forming, but it does meet the rules. So we are in consolidation here. Even though my bias is I think we will see a pop to the downside, we have held structure. And it's just pure consolidation. On the 240 we do have this break, pull back. There is just no structure that it's forming at, is there? No, there's just no structure. The RSI is not oversold. Psychological number is way below our point where we're trading at the moment. Still no RSI confirmation. Sorry guys, I'm just making sure that this might wait for a 2618 trade here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have got the rotation pattern down here. We've violated structure. Okay guys, 1 second. I'm not in my normal account, so I'm going to do this under the sim just so I can get the trade signal sent out. I'm going to buy this up. Okay, and I'm going to get this out as a signal in just a moment. Once 16 pips underneath there. Targets are going to be that level. Okay, so we're going to see a risk of ATR is 16. Yeah, okay, it does mean I've got my stop dead on the 178 psychological number. There's nothing I can do about that because the stop is an ATR below that double bottom. Okay. Alright, let me get this out as a signal guys, just 1 second. And then I need to get it in my actual account. Okay, long pound Aussie flag. Okay. And just 1 second, guys, while I get it in my account as well. Okay. Okay, guys, sorry about that. Okay, so 48 pips for 129 on this flag. What happens a lot of the time with these flag patterns is we do sometimes get the retest before the breakout, and this is exactly how it looks. So even though this hasn't come into a structure level where I would typically see where we would look for the long opportunity, the retest is what I'm using. So we'll wait and see if we get the breakout then, and targets for that 129 pips. Certainly turning out to be a busy week, and I am due some winners. So let's see whether or not that is going to be one of them. I'm just going to move that back to its position. Any questions on the pound Aussie, guys? If not, I will take a look at the pound yen next. Head and shoulders 240.60. I see what you're looking at on the pound Aussie. It isn't going to be one for me, but I think you're looking at this, aren't you? If I go back to the 60, you're looking at this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Move lower, pull back, move lower, initial structure high. The only reason it's not a head and shoulders for me is that the head just here didn't come into any form of structure. It came into this internal level. We take a look at it on the 240. It just still didn't come into any form of structure. So I see what you're looking at, but it just isn't one for me. So we will monitor that, guys, and see whether or not it comes off. Yeah, as I say, it does. You can look at it as a head and shoulders. It does have the initial structure high, but a head and shoulders for me is a rotation pattern, so it actually has to come in to structure, and that hasn't come into structure. So even though it's got all the makings, I would actually look at that as more a trend rotation more than a head and shoulders. The only difference is I think patterns have a higher probability because you're not just trading structure, you also have a pattern at the same time, so it's a higher probability. So but if you want to look at it head and shoulders, I wouldn't say no. It's just what you're at, what you deem to be a head and shoulders, and for me it actually has to come into structure, and usually the wicks, and that one didn't. But I completely see what you guys are looking at. So not much to talk about on the pound yen. Let's go and take a look at the higher time frame analysis. We're still bearish, aren't we, guys? Still bearish here. RSI has gone oversold, but we have put in a lower low, lower close candle. Let's go and look at the 240. We're reading trend, new low, outside return, new low, outside return. In fact, I tell you what I will do, guys. We were looking at buying up the pound yen, weren't we? However, this turned into a triangle. Did anybody get involved with this on Thursday or Friday? I can't quite remember when. I said to everyone that in the chat that we actually had this lower low, lower close here, and I said my bias has now changed from long to short, and we could see this turn into a triangle. Obviously though, guys, I said I wasn't taking any pound trades until the market had settled down, but you got a nice entry here. If you was in the chat, you would have seen the lower low, lower close. This was your risk, that was your reward, and it hit for about 140 pips. There was some more entries though, and it was on the lower time frame, and I talk about this all the time, particularly with breakout patterns. We have something called I think I call it I think it's trend continuation, the extra edge in the educational material. And what we do is when we get the breakout, we simply drop down the time frames and look for an entry, and we can be aggressive with it. And there was another entry on Friday. Where was it? Where was it? I think it may have been on the 5 minute. Just want to show you this just so for future. Again, if you miss your optimum entry, it doesn't mean that you miss, you actually miss the trade. Now you had several opportunities here. I can't remember which one I posted in, but you had a new low, a pullback. Okay, nope, wasn't that one. A new low, a pullback, a new low, a pullback, a new low, flag pattern. Remember guys, when we're moving directionally, or we're moving or we're in a breakout pattern and we're in trend, whatever it may be, typically breakout patterns move directionally, they form other breakout patterns and we do enter trend. So here in the 5 we were in trend, you had a flag pattern right here. Did we come up to retest the outside return? I think we stopped short by 1 pip, but you could have used that as the entry. Had the break to the downside, a pullback into this outside return, another chance to get short. I can't remember what I posted, to be honest with you, but there was an entry. It may have even been on the 5 range. Let me go and have a look. But there was plenty of opportunity here on Thursday and Friday to get involved with this break. Okay, where did I see it? No, I don't know. Anyway, so something to bear in mind. Again, breakout patterns, if you miss your entry, doesn't matter, it still offers plenty of opportunity to get involved with the trade. So here on the 60, this is looking like junk if I'm completely honest. We had a move lower. Could we be seeing another breakout pattern? It's not going to be very pretty, and it does not come into our outside return here. So don't think there's going to be much there for me. Just going to take a look at the 15. 15, nothing. Nothing for me. 5. Nothing either. I'll just take a quick look at the 5 range. Does anybody have anything on the pound yen? There's just nothing here for me. I'm just simply going to be watching the higher time frame here. I'll go back to the 60. We could look for a pullback to this entire outside return, or you could look for a break to this lower level. The lower level I would much prefer. Then look for a pullback, because this would then become the new outside return. It's a smaller kill zone, and then look for a shorting opportunity. But I'm going to have to wait for the break for the violation of this structure level. So not too much on that one either. Let's move that one out the way. And we will take a look at the pound dollar. I think we'll do just 2 more pairs, guys. I've got an appointment at, actually it's not till 11, so we've got time. So on the dailies, just like a lot of these pound pairs, we're looking bearishly, aren't we? So we had a move lower, pullback, we've had a confirmed new low. Is there room for the market to come lower? And I believe there is. We fell just short of this structure level just here, and if we zoom in, as you can see, we did fall short, and we have not come down to test that 2000 psychological number. Go and take a look at the 240. That will mean that if we read trend, we had a new low, the outside return, the new low, and the outside return, and the new low. So we are in trend here, guys, and this is the outside return. You could have looked for a first chance entry just here, but it was invalid because the candles physically closed above the wicks just here. So I would now only be looking for a second or last chance entry within this zone. So let's drop down to the 60. And is this going to provide us some sort of entry? Not one that I'm interested in right now. Let's take a look at the 15. Actually, just let me go back to the 60. One, two, three, fourth test was down here. So you have another potential flag there. The problem is that we are bearish, and in this instance we are bearish, and you're looking at buying into a bearish move. So this isn't going to be an opportunity for me. Let's just take a look at the 15. Yeah. What I'd do if this is going to be for you, I'd wait for the breakout. So I'd wait for the breakout of this trend line, look for a pullback to either the trend line or this lower level just here, and look at getting long. Whether you want to play for a retest of the highs or that 127, it's entirely up to you. But yeah, we're looking bearish here, so I wouldn't want to buy up the flag. Take a look at the 5 range. Any questions on the pound dollar, guys? Is anybody in a trade on it? Nothing here on the 5 range. Okie dokie, let's get rid of that one. I am still short the New Zealand yen in a low and tight flag, which is looking like this. I think we're about break even now, maybe something like that. I'll just run through this trade, guys, and show you why I got involved with this. So bigger picture here is I do believe we're going to break to the downside. So we had this big wick just here, and what we've done is we've failed to go higher as a result of that, and instead we're just coming lower and lower. So I think we're going to come down to retest this structure level again. And as we go down to the 240 and we read the trend, then we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, and I was looking last week at getting involved just here. Unfortunately, it did not produce a flag, and it did not produce a double top down here, and so I'm still expecting price to come lower. If we take a look at the 60, then I was, in fact, we'll just drop straight to the 15, guys. I was looking at this, so we had a move lower, and then it gave us a breakout pattern just here, a triangle, and when I start seeing one breakout pattern, I'm instantly thinking the market is moving directionally, and with breakout patterns we sometimes see more than one, and there is obviously room for the market to come lower. So when I see one, I look for another one. Now this pattern was valid on the 15 and the 60, but you can see it clearer on the 60. So that's why I took this low and tight flag in this instance, Targets are going to be that 127 fib, and my target's are just above the 127. I think there's about 30 pips of reward up for grabs on that one. So Vinco says, when we have no structure on the left, how do we consider an inversion pattern valid or not? We go ahead and click on data series, and we just simply load more data. For the New Zealand yen though, I'm not looking at shooting past existing structure, which is this level right here. So if I move this structure level up, so on the 127 where my targets are, you can see I'm looking for a retest of the lows. I'm not looking at shooting past structure. If however you're talking about if there is no structure at all, so for instance if we're making completely new lows, you know, new 50-year lows, whatever it may be, well then I'd be a little bit cautious about how low we could actually go, because we don't have any structure to base it off. But in this instance I'm not playing past structure. So hope that answered your question. Morning Peter. Vinco on pound dollar, we broke all the lows to the downside. Yep. The pound dollar was the potential flag, wasn't it? Let's just go out to the dailies on the pound dollar. Yeah, on the pound dollar you do have this structure level here, which we have not yet come down to test. So I do think that there is a little bit of room to come lower. I said stupid, sorry. No problem. No problem. So hoping we're going to get the move to the downside of the New Zealand yen for the low and tight flag. I haven't looked at the New Zealand dollar this morning, so I'm not too sure what's going on with it. So structure level on just here at our lows. So this was the lowest point, and you can see we've actually held that structure level, but we kind of sandwiched here between two structure levels. We've got this structure level up here, which we've already tested, and we've got this structure level down here. So when we sandwiched between two structure levels like this, I'm not really interested in any type of trend continuation, because we could go bullish, we could go bearish. I've got no bias on the trend. On the 240, we have had the break to the downside. And very much like the New Zealand yen, if you're reading the trend, we had a move lower, a pullback, a move lower, and we did come into the wicks just here, but once again it did not produce a rotation pattern, but we still could see a move to the downside here. Sorry about that. But there's just nothing setting up to tell me that. If we look at it on the 60, price is just, we're just holding this structure level just here. It's just consolidation for me. So I got nothing on the 60, and we'll take a look at the 15 as well. Nothing on the 15. So New Zealand dollar, I have nothing at all. I've got no bias on it. I'm just going to leave this currency pair. We'll see what happens with it. You may, over the next few days, get a deep Gartley pattern. But right now there's nothing here, guys. Any questions on the New Zealand dollar? Pete, you still holding the pound New Zealand? Still hoping that thing is going to push lower? The dollar Swiss is pushing lower. The dollar yen is pushing lower, which is good. Euro yen a little bit up and down. Still in decent profit on that one though. So let's take a look then at. We'll take a look at the dollar Swiss, because this is a trade that I'm in, and the reasons why I got involved. Peter, he exited when news didn't go our way. I'm just going to bring over the pound New Zealand and just do this one first. So we'll talk through this one. Now, it's not very often I manually exit a trade unless there is a big news event or there's something obscure that's going on. It's very rare that I actually exit the trade, but what I got involved with was on the 15 we had this head and shoulders. So we had a move higher, pull back, and then we had a double-headed head and shoulders, and we violated to the downside. So this gave us an initial structure low, and then as we pulled back, I exited based on a 26.18 trade. So I sold the 61.8 fib, and I was looking for around targets around this level, and what I was actually looking for was an AB equals CD pattern. Now this is how it looked yesterday, coming down into the structure zone. Unfortunately, price rallied higher, and we have to move the AB equals CD pattern to its highest point, which was there. And what we did is we actually came within a few pips of hitting that that target. So what I then did was move to break. I didn't move to break even. This structure level just here. Okay, I actually moved just above it. So I moved my stop to 187.30s, and you can see we're seeing a rejection off that zone now. So we still may see price come down to that level. So what I always do before I manually exit a trade, depending what the situation is I always look at structure and I say, well, that was the most recent structure. This only gave me around 10 or 11 pips of risk. So what I'm going to do is have my stop above this structure level and just have 10 or 11 pips of risk and just see if we do get the move to the downside. Because if we do, there's still 80 pips up for grabs here. But yeah, something to bear in mind, that peak, that's something that I do is I just look at the most recent structure level. And obviously we've held it. Whether or not we continue lower now, I don't know, but we're still in that trade. So the dollar Swissy, this is rallying into profit. That's nice to see. This was fairly aggressive in one respect, and I'm going to talk through why. Is anybody in the dollar Swiss, by the way? Pete took 14 pips and ran. Well, 14 pips is 14 pips. So what we've got here, guys, on the dollar Swiss is price has come down and held this structure level. I think this is the third time I'm mentioning it this morning. Look at what we're seeing with the candles: lower low, lower close, lower low, lower close. We failed to go bullish, so this to me is an indication that we're going to break to the downside. Let's go and look at the 240. Now here on the 240 we have a clear swing in the market, a directional move, and then we had, now it wasn't valid initially, and I'm going to talk through this. So this was the first touch, this was the second, this was the third. The problem is here, this fourth touch just here. Even though it was a fourth touch, it actually came up to test the closes of the candles just here. So we did not have any confirmed coiling or confirmed wedging. However, this touch, sorry, we touched again at the bottom, but this touch just here, which was the fourth touch, did not test the closes of the candles, and so gave me confirmation that we were coiling. The other thing I was concerned about was here, the 9700 psychological number. I can't take these at psychological numbers, but what we started to do was break out. We've broke past the psychological number. Even though we didn't violate structure, we physically broke below that psychological number, and we closed a good 10 pips below it. And so then as I dropped down the time frames and I was looking for an entry, we saw the market come up higher. We had a lower low, lower close on the hourly, but on the 15 we had a double top right here, and that's exactly what I used as the entry. We broke below, it pulled back for a 26.18 trade, and as you can see, it hit the 618, went a little past it, and we've now physically put in a new low. So I've got around, I think it's 22 pips of risk on this trade for Is it 80, guys? Just remind me. Throw the fib on. Take a look. Got involved around here. Maybe 85 pips, something like that. So a 3 or 4 to 1 reward to risk, something like that. So yeah, Pete's still in it. And we will see if we do get the breakout. We're in a relatively good position to get targets here because stops are just above this level. Being above this level would have been better in my opinion, but we'll see if we do get the continuation and the breakout. And again, guys, if just like the pound yen trade that I went over and I showed you on the lower time frame, that you know at some point we usually break out with force, and that's when you really want to drop down the time frames and look for the trend continuation or more breakout patterns and be fairly aggressive, because even if you get your entry here, there's still going to be 30 pips of reward in it for you. So hoping that we're going to get the push lower there. So we'll move that one out the way. And the dollar CAD. In fact, there's nothing on the dollar CAD. Let's take a look through some of the other pairs on trading view. So if you do have anything that you want me to take a look at, let me know. But we'll take a look through trading view and see if there's a great deal setting up. Aussie dollar Swiss first of all. On the hourly, going to be nothing there for me. We did have a potential flag actually on the Aussie yen, so let me bring that over. We'll take a look at that. Is anybody in the New Zealand yen as well? The low and tight flag. I think that's just gone into profit, that one. Okay, so this is our structure low just here. We have not tested the lows, and as you can see that we are pushing lower, so I would expect price to come lower. Let's go and take a look at the 240. Pete's in it. And what we did here on the Aussie dollar yen is we had a move lower, a pullback, then we made a new low, then we pulled back. We physically held structure here, and once again now we are pushing lower. Let's go and take a look at the 60. Okay, this is what I was looking at on the 60, so we had a move lower. Another flag pattern, there's plenty of them around. This may not be valid. 1 second, guys. Okay, so I'm having it on the close of the candles here and here, then I'm going to duplicate it and move it up. The reason for that is if we was doing this in real time, we would be looking for our 4th touch. And the problem here is that we only just violated structure. So that can sometimes happen. I think a little bit of judgment sometimes is when it looks like this, you know, it may be just 1 pip that we violate structure by, and it's a decision whether or not this is a valid opportunity for you. But if it is for you, you could look for that 127. I'm just going to clarify this point. Because this is at an angle, we sometimes get just a little bit of the candle showing up here. So I think a little bit of judgment is sometimes in order when we look at these trend lines like this. It's something that's certainly well worth testing. If we go and take a look at the 15. In fact, on the 15, the trade was valid from the look of it. You can see on the 15 we actually held structure. So yeah, a valid opportunity there for a flag pattern. Again, whether you want to play for a retest of this level, because this 127 actually closes just below this wick. So this might be one where you take first targets just here and hold for second targets. And I'd really wait to see if you get a little pop to the upside here. See if you can get an entry in that one. Okay, see Aussie dollar yen. Let's go and take a look at, see if there's anything else. Aussie dollar, don't want to look at that. Aussie dollar New Zealand. Nothing there for me. Let's take a look at the CAD yen. Does anybody else trade breakout patterns or structure-based trades on some of the minor pairs, some of these pairs that I'm looking at? They're pretty much the only two types I'll take, is structure-based trades and breakout patterns. So CAD yen, well, structure level on just here, and because of this wick, it means that we technically do not have a confirmed break below close below, but we are pushing lower. Go down to the 240. What I was looking at here was we had a move lower. We could start to see a triangle. Wouldn't be valid just now. I would need to see another move higher to this point. But a potential triangle there if we get a pop to the upside. Let's drop down to the 60. No, 15. Okay, so yeah, potential triangle on the CAD yen. Got to wait for a pullback. That would give us our fourth touch. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one to put on the short list. Swiss yen. Nothing. Euro CAD. Euro CAD we looked at last night, that harmonic move or the AB equals CD pattern, it hit targets but didn't give us an entry. Euro Swissy breaking to the downside. Euro pound. Nothing. Pound CAD. Nothing. New Zealand CAD, New Zealand Swiss, and dollar Swiss. Dollar Swiss is the one that we're in. Okay, so not too much in trading view. Potential triangle there for maybe later on in the week. That's all my currency pairs, guys. That's all of them. So I'll keep the CAD yen to the side, and we'll keep a close eye on that. How's our trade doing on the pound Aussie? Has it gone into profit? Almost at break even. So we will see, guys. We'll see if this is the week where we start seeing a few winners. Would be nice, that's for sure. Would be nice. Getting a bit of bullish movement on the potential pound dollar flag, but again, I'd wait for the breakout on that one. So guys, I'll start wrapping this up. Any questions? Any questions? If not, I'm going to thank you for joining me this morning, and we will see if that pound Aussie trade goes on to win. It'd be nice. No worries. Okay, I'll see you all in the chat. Take care for now.